Hi, I hope you want to learn a little bit about travel security this week because we have a Vault episode with Russ, and it's a solo episode of Secure Digital Life with Russ talking about travel security. And I mean, Russ carries more equipment than a rock band. So check out Secure Digital Life episode number 71 from way back in July of 2018.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network.
Welcome to Secure Digital Life. If your users are going to keep putting risky stuff on your machine, you're screwed. So, Top can help us understand the complexity of blockchain.
I was reading through the show notes, man.
Oof. In binary, it would be 001. Who cares? But it's probably not significant anyway. Be like you're looking out through the HAL dot, like,
oh,
hey, Dave.
It's like Sim, but with,
It would be like Sim.
Instead of AI, it's only. Today we're going to talk about, just because travel has been on our minds, and it's about the time when kids are out of school and they take family vacations and things of that nature, where we're going to talk about some things about travel security. And acceptable security while traveling should be a good mix of safety, and safety always first, and then convenience, because I know oftentimes that when you employ good security principles, you can be inconvenienced, and we're going to talk about some of those things as throughout the show. So make sure that security comes first, and then you worry about convenience. So good travel security can be broken down into three main categories. The first category is personal security or safety, and that is the safety of yourself and the people you're traveling with, as well as the people around you. It also can include environmental security, like your hotel room and things of that nature. So personal security and safety is one. Then asset security and safety, and asset are usually goods, things, items, objects that you've brought with you, such as luggage, laptops, phones, your wallet, your passport, all that kind of stuff, your credit cards. So practicing good asset security is important. Again, we're going to talk about all these in a minute. And then finally, we look at digital security, or the security of communications and transactions. All right, so let's start with personal security. And I can't stress this enough, we can't stress this enough, that always start personal security by being aware of your surroundings. You never know who is on the prowl. Cue, music. No? Okay, well, it was supposed to play Prowler from Iron Maiden, but just because I happened to see... There we go! Yeah. All right. So you never know who's on the prowl, looking to cause harm, egregious harm. So from the time you leave your house to the time you return home, remain vigilant and aware of all of your surroundings. Look over your shoulder, see who's around you on the airplane, in the taxi, in the Uber, whatever. Just make sure that that you know what's going on around you at all times. You can't be sort of one of these nebulous in the clouds people, which is what I am when I travel, because I'm overly stimulated by things that new things that are around me. So just make sure you protect yourself by knowing where you are, who's around you at all times. Be friendly, but not too friendly. This is how you get into situations. So there was this one time in China, which this happened to a person that I know. And this person was walking around Shanghai, and they were traveling alone, so they were by themselves. And they had just gotten off a subway, and they had gotten out from the metro station, and they had gone upstairs to Shanghai, the square area where he was going to go and look at various sites. So when he got up to the staircase, he pulled out his phone and leaned against the thing to get his bearings on his GPS and so on and so forth. And a couple of, actually two or three, I think he said, kids came up to him. Kids, they were about 18 to 20 college students, freshmen, and they had come up to him, and they had asked him if, in good English, I think he said, whether or not he was where he was going. He was going to a cool, like, turn of the century British hotel in this area of Shanghai called the Bund. The kids had started talking to him and seemed to be friendly, and then they had asked him to go to a traditional Chinese tea ceremony. What ended up happening was he ended up getting locked in a room, I think, for about an hour, and then force-fed various teas, which ended up making him sick and that stuff, and he ended up having to break his way out of the room, and so on and so forth. So all of that stemmed from being too friendly, as he said, and so just be careful when you're traveling, and don't get kidnapped and poisoned in China. All right, so in addition to not being too friendly, make sure you have the phone number and addresses of places you are staying stored on you at all times, and that I prefer to do it in paper, because oftentimes batteries can die in cell phones, they can get stolen or left in cabs and taxis and Ubers and all that kind of thing. So if you have a backup copy in paper on you, that's fine. So make sure you have those numbers and addresses. I remember one time when I was in Spain, and I speak Spanish relatively well, certainly enough to survive, which is good. And I had gotten lost, and I was walking around the hotel probably for about 2 hours. And I went to the taxi cab, and the taxi driver didn't speak a word of English or wouldn't, and so I had to pull out this paper from where I was staying, and it had the metro stop because I didn't have the paper of the address of the hotel on it. So I was like, all right, well, can you take me to the metro stop, in Spanish, of course. Can you take me to the metro stop at this particular area? And then I got there, and I was nervous, and it had been my first time out of the country, so I thought that everything was as convenient and safe as it was in America when I traveled domestically, but it wasn't. It was different. So I learned from that. So just make sure you have all your addresses and the phone numbers of the places you're staying around you. Now, if you're traveling internationally, have the emergency phone numbers on you at all times, and that means things like here in America, it's 911. All right, so not everywhere is 911. Actually, most places aren't. The State Department has a nice list of emergency numbers by country available at travel.state.gov/content/damn. Anyway, it's in the user notes. The file is called 911_abroad.pdf. So you wanna look at that. I think in European EU countries it's 112, and various other places they're separated by police, fire, and emergency. I assume that's rescue. So take a look at that document. It's really nice and well planned out. And it breaks it down, and make sure you have those numbers on you at all times, just in case something bad happens. Another thing in personal security and safety that I like to do is I like to use my cell phones and share my location with somebody who I trust back home, or even on the trip if they're with me, or both. This last trip, we had gone to Paris with 8 of my family members, and I had shared my location with 2 of them that were with us in the group, in addition to some people back at home. Just so they could monitor where I was, and if they hadn't heard from me in some time, they could look me up and see where I was, just to make sure it was okay. Now, obviously, if your phone gets lost or stolen, that's not going to do a heck of a lot of good for you, but assuming that you have the phone on you at all times, that actually, it kind of helps. So make sure, or you can try that, and make sure when you do enable that before you leave the country, test it out with the individuals who you're sharing with, and make sure that they can find you. All right. Stay around safe areas. Research these online or use guides like Lonely Planet or Frommer's travel guides. I use those, and they're very, very good. The further you venture from those central areas, the more at risk you put yourself. So just do some research. Make sure that you stick with, within the confines or the safe spots of the area you're going to. Group tours can often be a good option if you're traveling alone. I tend to travel alone more often than not, and in some cases, I like to do scheduled tours with various groups, like through Viator or AffordableTours.com. I think I've used Gate One Travel a couple times, and they're very good. In the sense that they organize everything for you. You're on a bus, you're off a bus, and you don't have to worry about all the transportation in between. For the most part, with the exception of a few that you may have to walk to or find your own transportation to. I also use Expedia as well for various tours, like we just did with the in Paris and the Eiffel Tower and so on and so forth. So use those services and make sure that you have all those booked before you leave, because sometimes they can sell out, or also sometimes there can be sort of man in the middle type things going on. So just make sure you have those all booked before you leave. All right, next up, asset security. And an asset is any kind of thing that you have with you, on you. It could be your cell phone, your laptop, your luggage, your suitcase, all that kind of stuff. So start by ensuring that when you're leaving, that your baggage is or your baggage and luggage are secure. Make sure there are no holes or defects, that you have proper TSA locks and so on and so forth. And if you don't, brings us to number 2, purchase TSA approved locks. We had purchased a few before we left, and I think they were maybe $7 or $10 at Target or Walmart, or you can probably buy them online cheaper than that. They are easily openable, by TSA agents and probably by the majority of the public. But at least what they do is they deter things like crimes of opportunity. Where somebody can just grab, if you have your zipper open in a pouch on your backpack, they can just grab what's in it and you'll never know, because it's a crime of opportunity. Whereas if you keep the TSA locks around the zippers or inside the holes of the zippers, then it's open and close, so they can't, it's not as easy to do that. Make sure when you're packing your suitcase, you clearly mark all of your luggage with something that distinguishes it. Believe it or not, other people may have the same exact luggage as you. And I had recently purchased a Samsonite baggage or luggage suitcase, and lots of other people had them, and I didn't have time, nor did I remember. It's probably more like it. I didn't remember to put something on there that would distinguish it from mine, because it's a popular brand and it's a popular suitcase. So you want to make sure that you can distinguish yours. It'll also save you a lot of time if you're checking that bag. It'll save you a lot of time on the carousel. So like, oh, is this mine? Is this mine? Is this mine? No. All right. So just put something on it. One of the people we were traveling with tied a handkerchief to it. Another one put a sticker on it. So make sure that you properly and appropriately, document your luggage through using some sort of sticker or marking system. Make sure you avail yourself of hotel safes and safety boxes for important or expensive items. These can be passports, laptops, jewelry, or even other valuables. And I understand the reasons why people may travel with jewelry and things of that nature. I personally just leave as much of my valuable stuff at home as I need. I don't wear jewelry. I have an Apple Watch, but I don't wear it when I travel, just because it makes you a target, or at least that's my feeling. It makes you a target, so I leave all of that ancillary technology at home. And if I do have to bring it, like I had to bring the HoloLens with me on this trip because I had to showcase it at a conference, you just lock it in the safe. Most hotels have safes now, or if you're using Air Bed and Breakfast, they may have some sort of secure locking cabinet or something like that that you can use. So make sure you avail yourself of that. Don't carry a bunch of things with you when you leave the hotel. Only carry what you absolutely need. A backpack or shoulder bag should be fine. If you prefer, keep all of your travel documents in a flat pouch in front of you, not on your back, in front of you under your shirt secured by your belt. So they have these, I will never say this again, but it's just something that I remember. I am not a fan of Seinfeld, but I remember some silly Seinfeld episode that they were talking about people in France men in France carrying purses, and they were, busting this guy's chops because he was carrying a purse or whatever. But it's true. A lot of men in France do carry these shoulder bags, and they're maybe about this big, but a little bigger than a postcard. Maybe it's 5x7, and they put all their documents in, and they keep it under their shoulder, like right here. I've also seen people, what they do is they put it around their neck, and they under their shirt and tuck it into their belt if they're wearing a belt, to make sure that it doesn't get pickpocketed and people can't see you carry it. Because technically speaking, you're supposed to carry your passport with you at all times when you're overseas in most countries. I do not adhere to that. I find it to be insecure, and it makes me, in my opinion, a moving target or a walking target, because those passports are valuable to certain people. So I don't carry mine with me. I carry a digital copy and a card with me that I get from at the time that you get your passport. You can get a passport card and the passport. It costs you a little extra money. I think it's $30 or something like that. And I leave the passport at the hotel, and I carry the card with me. So, and carry it inside something that's secured to your body, right to your body. All right. There's a mixture of we talked about that. The mixture of people who say carry a passport, don't carry a passport. So it's really up to you. I think that passport card is really nice. So that's what I use. And I've never been in a situation, and I've been to some interesting places. I've never been in a situation where I've been stopped and asked to see a specific passport. I have been in a situation where it asks for photo identification, and I just give them my driver's license, and that's fine. So another thing that you can do to protect yourself and your goods is to register your overseas trip with the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. It's also known as STEP, S-T-E-P, from the U.S. State Department, and the link is step.state.gov/STEP. This will ensure that if there are any emergencies, either back home or in the case of where you're going, that the U.S. Embassy and family members will be able to get in contact with you while you're away. They had also mentioned, I don't want to dissuade anybody from traveling. They had also mentioned on that particular STEP website that if there's any kind of military insurgence or violence or something that crops up in the area or region that you're going to be staying in, that registering with that STEP program will afford you a certain level of communication, letting you know that it is now unsafe or you should stay in your hotel for this reason or that reason. So that STEP program is pretty cool. It's good. And different people have different feelings about what I'm going to say next. Travel insurance. And travel insurance, I buy it sometimes, I don't others. I don't buy it whenever I travel domestically. It's usually, 4 or 5 times a year, travel domestic. Most of my traveling is international, overseas. So when I go overseas, depending on the cost, I would consider buying it. The last few trips that I've been to, China, Japan, Israel, Germany, Poland, Czech, Hungary, all of those trips that I've been on, I have bought the insurance. And the insurance is typically about $10 a day per person. So $10 per day per person. So the cost, I had bought insurance for my partner when we had gone to France last week, a couple weeks ago, and it was only $53 for her for the whole trip. And that covers things like certain medical expenses, rerouting due to circumstances beyond the control of the airlines. lost luggage, and things of that nature. One of my family members lost their keys in Paris, lost their car keys. So when we had gotten back to Logan, they couldn't get in their car. So they had to Uber it back home. I mean, they could have rented a car, but I mean, think about it. You've got all that luggage, all those people with you, and you're going through like, crap, I can't believe I lost my keys, blah, blah, blah. So you're not really thinking clearly. Your mind is focused on the problem at hand, and how they had decided to handle it was to pay $384 for an Uber, which it cost that, about $384. The next morning, my family member had called the travel insurance provider, and they reimbursed them for the Uber, and they reimbursed them the $90 for the key fob to be redone for the car. Another good thing is with regards to luggage is GPS transponders, and you can buy those on Amazon or anywhere. And I personally am not a big fan of these. They can oftentimes be expensive and ineffective. I mean, if your luggage is in an airport that is cement, covered in cement, surrounded in cement, then what good is the transponder going to be? It can't reach the GPS satellite. So, think about that. Domestically, it might be okay, but internationally, All right, moving on to the last category. That is digital security. And we've had shows on this before. Try to stay away from hotel free or included Wi-Fis. They are oftentimes insecure, and they can be problematic. So avoid it at all costs, and instead use your cell phone as a hotspot or ask the front desk for a paid, more secure option. When I travel a lot, I use Airbnb as much as possible just because I've had very, very, very good experiences with it. And I often find that Airbnb hosts have secure Wi-Fi, but you also kind of have to be careful of them intercepting your traffic because they know your password. They know the password to the Wi-Fi as well. So, just make sure you use common sense. And in addition to using secure Wi-Fi, make sure that you're using a VPN at all times. And lifehacker.com/tag/VPN has a great article on how to start using VPN. We've had several shows. Doug has talked, a myriad of times on using VPN and so on and so forth. On mobile devices, make sure you disable Wi-Fi and Bluetooth as much as possible when you do not need them. You don't want somebody, trying to get into or break into your devices because you left something on. NFC is a newer technology, newer in the sense that it's newer than Bluetooth, and that can be a problem also. Though we don't hear much about that right now. So just protect yourself by turning off Bluetooth and Wi-Fi when you are not using them. And that should be good. Keep your mobile devices away from your contactless cards or passports. Anything that has a smart chip in them, you don't want the EM radiation from this phone or any other electronic device to desensitize or demagnetize or degauss or derez any of your chips in your credit cards or passports, because you don't want to get stuck somewhere. It can be expensive and time consuming. Set up Find Your Phone on Android or Find iPhone in iOS in case you lose your devices or it gets stolen. This way you can track it, and furthermore, you can also erase it or restore it. Just erase it. And if it does get stolen, I've had an iPad stolen from me. If it does get stolen, then you can remotely wipe it, which is good. And then do some research on mobile device rental, like cell phone rental, versus SIM card purchase versus Travel Pass. I've used all three of them. I prefer Travel Pass, and what that is through my provider, you get this thing called Travel Pass, and for $10 a day, wherever you are in the world, provided Travel Pass is available there, you can use your your domestic minutes, and I don't have unlimited, but I've got like 30 gigs a month. So spread across 4 people. So the travel pass allows me to access that without paying roaming fees. So that's nice. I've used that in Japan. I've used that in Paris. I've used it in Central Europe, and it works quite well. The SIM card rental, I had spent, I think it was 25 days in Australia, because if you're going to fly 24 hours in the air, then you might as well stay there for a while. I was about 3 weeks in Australia. And when I was in Australia, I decided to buy a SIM card there and just put it in my iPhone. And that worked nicely. The only problem there is that I didn't like is that you get a local phone number. And for local, that's fine. If you're using data, that's fine. But if you want people to still be able back home to call your number, your cell phone, and get in touch with you, it's not going to work unless you share that local number with them. So in Australia, it was actually cheaper. It was $60 for 3 weeks, as opposed to, well, it was a month, but I was only there for 3 weeks, as opposed to what it would have cost me if I used Travel Pass. And Travel Pass would have been 10 times 7 is 70, times 3 is 210. So it would have been 3 weeks, 7 days at $10 a day. So 21 days times 10 is $210. So I saved, $140 by buying the SIM. And the mobile rental I had done when I went to China. The mobile rental, I went through a reputable company, and it was just not a good experience, and I would probably never do it again. It was costly, and it didn't work. I got one phone call for 2 minutes out of it, and I was supposed to have over 180 minutes of international calling. I had 2 minutes. So I wouldn't do that again. But do your research. It may work for you depending on where you're going. So those 3 options are there. Keep your PINs and passwords hidden, not just at ATMs, but from your devices. Many of you, we know, many of you use the same PIN on your mobile device as you do for your ATM. Shame, shame. What does Colbert say? Tip of the hat, wag of the finger. This is wag of the finger. Don't do that. In fact, don't use PIN numbers at all on your devices. Use passcodes. So 7 to 10 passphrase, 7 to 10 characters would be better. So don't be entering or fingering your passcode into your phone. Any thief with a camera with a zoom lens, or just doing over the shoulder or shoulder surfing attacks, they can just see it right there. So no. Don't use a debit card. Always bring cash or credit. Debits can get compromised quite easily, and if somebody grabs your debit card, they can throw it in an ATM anywhere in the world, type the PIN number, which they can get through shoulder surfing or skimming, and then just steal your money. And you don't want that. So cash and credit card. At least with a credit card, you can call the credit card company and say, hey, I'm disputing that charge. That wasn't me, and that's that. Whereas with a debit card through your bank or financial institution, it's a lot more difficult. Tell your credit card companies you're going away. Call them and have them put your card on travel advisory. Otherwise, you risk your payment might be declined. That has actually happened to me before. So, and if you have a credit card that doesn't have a chip and a PIN, you can't use it in most countries. That has happened to me before too. Call your credit card company, tell them you're traveling overseas and that you need a card with a chip and a PIN, and that'll help. Traveling is a lot of fun, but it also requires a lot of responsibility. Don't be intimidated. Use common sense. Adhere to all of the things we've mentioned above, and stay away from problem areas, and you'll have a good time.